Hello. As promised, here we are with a dedicated presentation on order Lepidoptera of insects. As you know, this order includes butterflies and moths. So let's look into their world a little bit closer. As you know, the life cycle of a butterfly is that of complete metamorphosis. Butterflies and moths, both of them. There are four main stages: the egg, larva, which in this case are called caterpillars, pupa, and adult. Did you know that there are people who study these entire life cycles of different species of butterflies and moths? Some do it for the purposes of science, and some just for hobby, curiosity, and love for nature. We are bringing you one such real life example: a Malabar banded peacock. Isn't it such a truly beautiful butterfly, don't you think? This was documented by Mr. Balakrishnan of Kerala. He has meticulously also written down each day on which he saw these different stages. So the first day when he saw the egg being laid, it was a perfect round, a pearl white little egg. On day 3, it stained to a little brown stains, and on day 4, the caterpillar hatched. The photograph here is a rather enlarged one. The caterpillars that hatch out of these tiny eggs are also very, very tiny. Look how spiny this little guy is, isn't he? Next stage, it has now grown to become green. The number of spikes have reduced. This is the stage, the caterpillar stage, when butterflies and moths feed the most, stack up all the nutrients that they need, or at least most of it. They eat voraciously and they grow very quickly. Also, one more thing let me point out. In this photograph, in the structure of the caterpillar, you can see 3 legs near the head. These are the true legs. These button-like stubs that you see in the latter part of the body are called prolegs. These are not true limbs. The caterpillar, with the help of these, can sense what plant it is walking on. The plant on which this caterpillar was found is called the Indian prickly ash tree. So this plant is called the larval host plant of this caterpillar. Different species of butterflies and moths have different sets of plants which are their larval host plants. Not all caterpillars eat or feed of any species of plant that is available. The next stage. Look how beautiful it has grown to be. The spikes have almost completely disappeared, and it is a lovely green with yellow spots like the stars of the galaxy. Over here, you can also see beautiful markings and even a marking like a false eye. The true eyes of the caterpillar are somewhere here. In moths and butterflies, caterpillars, as they grow and as they molt and move from one instar to the other, they can look quite different, as in this case you saw. Let's move ahead. On day 21 is when this caterpillar stopped feeding and moving about. As you can see, it has attached itself on a twig here and then curled up, and you can see one silken thread that it is hanging off from. And then over the next 2 days, it has completed the entire cocoon around itself. The bottom two photographs are just different angles of the same pupa. Different species of butterflies and moths also have different types of cocoons, different shapes, different sizes, and even different colors. There are some moths who make cocoons that are not attached, that are free, but they go underground to spin the cocoon around themselves and stay there until it is time for them to emerge. Day 36 is when the adult peacock butterfly emerged. Look at this over here. You can see the empty shell that it has left behind of the pupa, and the adult has come out. When this butterfly is inside this pupa and changing from caterpillar to an adult butterfly, imagine when it's ready, it is sitting with its huge wings scrunched up. So when the butterfly emerges out, when the adult emerges out, it first has to pump in fluid into its veins of the wings to expand the wings. And then it has to allow the wings to dry. Meaning to say, the butterfly cannot just quickly take off as soon as it comes out of the pupa. Butterflies usually choose early hours of the morning to emerge. This gives them some safe time. It is a time when maybe few predators are active. And also it is the time when the sun is becoming warmer and warmer, which helps in drying its wings as well as giving it energy from the sunlight. Here you can see Mr. Balakrishnan has written down the time as well. And here you have a fully ready butterfly, dried and energized to take off on its first flight. Here we have a photograph just to give you some reference of size of the butterfly egg. Here is the egg of the common Mormon butterfly. Look at its size compared to the nib of a pen. Look how tiny it is. Most of the times when we've been successful in finding an egg of a butterfly is when we've actually watched a mother butterfly lay its egg on the host plant. And then you wait a little bit, and once the mother has left the plant, because she may lay multiple eggs on the same plant, so you let her finish her business, and once she goes away, if you go to that plant and look in the places where she had stopped, very likely you will also be successful in finding the egg. Eggs of butterflies and moths are also very, very varied. Different species have many different types of eggs. Just look at this slide here. Here I have shown only 4 species of butterflies. Look at the colors, the shape, the texture, the pattern. It's so different. You may find some really interesting eggs if you look for them. So that's about the life cycle of the butterfly. Once the butterfly emerges as an adult, the mouth parts are converted into, as you know, tube-like structures called proboscis. Here we have a photograph of 2 butterflies called the blue tigers that are feeding off the nectar of the beautiful kadamba flowers. You can see their proboscis. Like in this case, it's very, very clear. You can see it here. Moths also do that, but some of them have really, really long proboscis. Look at this one. It's much more than the length of its body. This one is a type of a hawk moth that is active even in the early hours and late evening hours. That's why this daytime photograph is possible of this moth. Adult butterflies also get their nutrition from what we call mud puddling. Here you can see a butterfly on a damp patch of soil, wet soil. For nutrition, they come down and land on the ground, and with their proboscis, they suck nutrients through the moisture of the wet ground. If you look at a mud-puddling butterfly closely for some time, you will see that every now and again it secretes or excretes rather all the extra water that it has taken in with the nutrients. So it keeps the nutrients and lets go of the extra water through these droplets. Sometimes you find lots of butterflies together at a patch of damp soil. Sometimes they are mostly of one species that have gathered together, and sometimes you can have multiple different species mud puddling in a single patch of wet soil. Mud puddling butterflies give a very good opportunity to watch butterflies. They don't get disturbed easily. And just in case if something disturbs them, they usually quickly come back and settle down in the same spot. That's how important mud puddling is to them, that they are ready to take the chance to put themselves in danger by exposing themselves and staying still in one place for so long. Butterflies and moths also take nutrition from very ripe or even rotting fruits. Sometimes you find them like this. They also use the droppings of other animals. In this case, it was the dropping of a tiger that we had seen. And look at the so many different species of butterflies have come to get nutrients from it. Sometimes they even come and land on your hand or on a sweaty cap. That's because even from there, they can get some salts and minerals. Did you see how the proboscis was moving, that straw-like structure? This was in fact taken during a training session that we were conducting in Ranthambore. And suddenly a beautiful leopard butterfly came and landed on Harsha's hand. Now, let's look at the anatomy, the parts of the body of the butterflies and moths. Here I have taken the illustration of a butterfly, but we are just going to go through some simple body parts which are the same for both butterflies and moths. When their wings are open and you can see the side that you see is called the upper wing side. Very often, the upper wing side is the brighter colored side. Many times when you're referring to guidebooks, you will see that they have written upper wing pattern is such and such, right? So you know now what they mean. Like most insects, butterflies and moths have two pairs of wings. The first wing is called the forewing. The second pair is called the hind wings. They also have, like all insects, three segments in the body, that is the head, thorax, and the abdomen. And of course, they have a prominent pair of antennae. When the wings are closed, the side that you can see is called the underwing side. The underwing is usually the duller colored side. Here I also want to point out how, when not in use, butterflies and moths can curl up their proboscis and hold it just under their head. And of course, the forewing, the hindwing remains the same. Now let's look into butterflies. Butterflies are a very popular creature to watch. We've often noticed that guests who are not really interested in insects in general still enjoy watching butterflies when pointed out to them. Butterflies are not as diverse as many other insects, and they are easy to watch and learn. So let's get going. In the world, there are about 17.5 to 18,000 species of butterflies recorded. In India, we have just over 1400 species of butterflies. All these butterflies are divided into 6 families. Let's go through each of these families, learn about their characteristics, and look at some examples of each. The first one is the swallowtails. The swallowtails are a large butterfly. Most specimens in this family are quite large. Many of them have a tail-like projection coming out of their hind wings. That is how they get their name. Let's look at a few examples. Crimson rose. Look how beautiful this butterfly is. Other than the white, red and black markings on its wings, it also has a beautiful bright red color on its body, which is not quite visible in this photograph. Spot swordtail. You can see its wonderfully sword-like tail, and the underwing pattern in this butterfly is very, very clear in this photograph. Common lime, an example of a swallowtail butterfly that doesn't really have the tail-like projection coming out of its hind wing. Still very beautiful. And then, how can we forget the bird wings? This photograph here is that of a southern birdwing. Bird wings are the largest butterflies. Sometimes, from the corner of your eye, if you see a bird wing fly by, you may mistake it for a small bird until you get a good look at it. Next family, it's called the brush-footed family. These are usually medium-sized butterflies. They get their name because the front pair of legs, the first pair of legs, are modified into small bristles like brushes. So when you see this butterfly, you see only 4 legs instead of 6. This family also has some very, very interesting stories within its species. Let's look at a few. Here I have the example of the common evening brown. This butterfly, can you see the 2 photographs? It's the same butterfly. It changes the morph of its wings from season to season. This one here is during the wet times of the year, monsoons and post-monsoons. This is how its wings look during the dry times of the year, late winter and summer. The evening browns are butterflies that are usually active in the late hours of the day. Having good camouflage, like this one especially, means that it can rest throughout the day, hidden in plain sight because of excellent camouflage. It just looks like the dry leaves that would be on the ground, doesn't it? Next one. Here I have the blue tiger, this one, and the dark blue tiger. They look very, very, very similar. You can tell them apart by, say, more black in this one, the dark blue tiger, and also certain, cells here, for example. Look at this dark black marking as compared with this thin sliver of black in the same spot. Certain features like this is what you need to remember to tell apart some similar looking butterflies. The very interesting things about these butterflies, and along with them few others, is that they take long mass migration journeys. The photograph that you're seeing here to your right is a photograph taken when they have all congregated to take this journey. Joining them is often the striped tiger. The striped tiger, also congregated here, is during such a migration. They are all roosting in a tree, they are resting. Here you can see that the striped tiger is looking quite pale. This is all what you're seeing is the underwing side. If you see carefully, you might see 1 or 2 samples that have opened their wings, right? This is how brightly orange colored the striped tiger is. It's a beautiful butterfly. This is a map showing roughly the journey that some of these butterflies take. Between April to June, which is the time just before the monsoon hits the Western Ghats, which is this area, they leave from there and start moving to the northeastern side towards the Eastern Ghats. They seem to be doing this to avoid the very heavy monsoons. Later, in October and November, just as the monsoon is over, the rainy season is getting over, they start to make their journey back, as shown with the orange arrows in this map. If you get a chance, do look out for these during these months. See if you can find a huge congregation of any of these species. You could find other species of butterflies like the common crow also along with them sometimes. Okay, let's move to the next one. The painted lady. This one is quite a star amongst butterflies. Speaking of migratory journeys, it is recorded that the painted lady, a single individual, can fly 4,000 kilometers, crossing mountains, oceans, and even deserts. The painted lady is found in many different parts of the world. It has been seen to take this migratory journey from parts of northern Europe and Central Asia. As winter starts coming in that area and it starts to get cold, they start their journey southwards to Africa and parts of Asia, including India. And then, as it starts getting hot, which means very, very hot in Africa and India, they start making their journey back up north. They do this circuit over multiple generations. But it seems like they do this journey and the journey keeps them in good weather all the time. How amazing it would be to be a painted lady, wouldn't it? Okay, let's go to the next family, whites and yellows. These butterflies again are medium-sized. As the name suggests, they are mostly white and yellow in color, quite pale sometimes, but with exceptions. Let's look at a few examples. Common emigrant, really quite a common butterfly to see. They come in many different morphs. Like look at the male here, a clear lemon yellow colored butterfly, whereas the female is much paler, where you can actually see the black edge of the upper wing. Sometimes we've also seen like bluish colored or even going up to greenish color in this species of butterflies. Next one. Here we have the common grass yellow. But there are many types of grass yellows, and I'm sure you've seen them. They usually fly quite low to the ground, maybe just about up to 2 feet above the ground. And they're very, very busy, hardly sitting down, quite difficult to identify because they don't give you often a chance to look at its markings. Moving on. Not all whites and yellows are dull after all. They can be very, very bright like the common Jezebel. Look at these beautiful colors. And the Jezebel can be found all the way from low bushes up into even actually above the canopy of trees we've seen it flying. Now the next family, which we call the blues. The blues are the tiniest butterflies we have. Can you see the butterfly in this photograph? I'm sure you've spotted it. This one is called the tiny grass blue. It's come for some nectaring. The blues get their name mainly because many species in this family have a bluish wash, a bluish tinge on their upper wing. Let's look at a few more examples. Common silver lion and the red Piro. Butterflies like these have no blue at all on them. Some more. You can have butterflies like the Indian sunbeam, which at first glance looks like a simple plain white butterfly sitting down, until it surprises you by opening its wings. It has a beautiful flashy orange color on its upper wing. Another interesting example is the purple sapphire. Beautiful upper wing pattern, also lovely glossy purple color with orange markings. And when it closes its wings, it is a completely different looking butterfly. Isn't it so beautiful? I hope you'll enjoy watching these. How fun it would be to look for some of them and even to find it and show them to your guests. Anyway, moving on to the next family, the Judies. This family doesn't have a large representation in our country. Some examples are the plum Judy, and the other one is the Punchinello. Very beautiful, found mostly up in the mountains. And then we have the last family, the skippers. The skippers are not as brightly colored as all the other families of butterflies. They mostly come in shades of browns and often can be mistaken for moths. Look at that large eye of the brown owl butterfly on this photograph. Look at the hairy body and legs. Isn't it? Look at how this spotted small flat is sitting with its wings spread out. Very unlike a butterfly that usually sits with its wings folded over its back. So that is it about the families of butterflies. I hope this has got you interested enough to go out and look for the butterflies that hang out in your area. Let's look at some other interesting stories that you find amongst butterflies. Some butterflies mimic. The picture to your left is the crimson rose. The crimson rose is a brightly colored butterfly, and as you now know that in many insects, bright colors are warnings to predators that, hey, I am not nice to taste. On the other hand, you have the common Mormon female. The common Mormon female has started to look, mimic, or copy the way the crimson rose looks. That's because that gives her protection. Any bird that has learnt its lesson of not eating bright insects will also not try to hunt her. The male of the common Mormon looks like this. How different it is, right? No bright colors, as you can see. Another example of mimicry is the Danidec fly. Look at the plain tiger, right? Beautiful tiger-like colors, bright orange, black, white. And look at the Danidec fly. Sometimes when this female of the Danidec fly is flying about, you have to look carefully and look twice to make sure whether this butterfly is a plain tiger or not. Some little pointers, for example, the border of the wings is a good giveaway for us to identify the butterfly correctly. The male of the species looks like this. Very, very different. Before we move on to learning about moths, let's look at some differences between butterflies and moths. Butterflies are mostly active in the day, except of course creatures like the evening brown that you saw earlier, which can be active very late in the evening when it's almost dark. The moths, on the other hand, are mostly active at night. There are some day-flying moths, however. Butterflies have clubbed antennae. Moths have feathery or thread-like antennae. Butterflies have a slender, slim body. Moths, on the other hand, have thicker and hairy bodies. Butterflies hold their wings together above their back when they are resting. Moths, on the other hand, keep their wings flat parallel along the surface on which they are resting. I hope these easy differences, these easy points will help you differentiate between butterflies and moths easily when you're in the field. There are far more number and variety of moths than butterflies. The difference is huge. The world has about 150 to 250,000 moths. The range is given here because we don't have recorded all the moths of the world. There are still many that are trying to be identified and given a name. There are still many that have not even been discovered. Butterflies, on the other hand, there are about 18,000 species of butterflies in the world. In India, we have recorded around 10,000 species of moths, whereas butterflies are just over 1,400 in number.